and I see the tall tines, I see the big body, and he's coming in dominant, trying to run that little 8-pointer off. I was like, oh, yes. I don't want to measure this hunt based off of just strictly inches per se.
Yeah.
I want something that, one, is a good representation of Iowa, but first and foremost, that I grab the bow without second guessing and say that's a shooter.
Yeah.
Because there are plenty of times when I'm like, is he?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I'll shoot him. And but like I said, what my goal is to stick to, and because you know it, when you see enough deer, especially we've seen so many young bucks, when you see a big mature buck come in, it's like
it's a different presence.
It's a different presence.
I was like, well, if I throw a mic on, then I can help others the way that these people have all helped me.
Born in the heart of the Pennsylvania deer camp, with the help of experts, friends, and local legends, we bring you valuable knowledge and powerful stories for your hunting adventures. Welcome to the East Meets West Hunt Podcast with your host, Beau Martonik.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another podcast with your host, Mr. Beau Martonik. Some say he's the best whitetail hunter east of the Mississippi and north of the Mason-Dixon.
I did not ask you to add that on the end of it. I just wanted you to do the intro.
Well, we had to do a little bit of flair. You know, we gotta add. You gotta add a little bit to
it. For anybody that's listening, I've got Mr. Thomas Clements on here. Thomas been on the podcast before, but also if you listen to the intro and outro of the podcast every week, that is Thomas's voice, and you were the one that did the whole video edit and work and everything that went into that.
Yeah, that was a fun one.
That was. I was glad you did that project for me. And when I first met you, I was like, it took a couple of years for the project to actually come to fruition, but I was like, we need to do this at some point.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Well, man, it's great to have you back on the show, but we've had what I can't believe it's been a week already that we've been together. It literally feels like we got here last night.
Yeah.
But we've been hunting in Iowa for the last, well, I guess we've been here, like I said, almost a week, and it's been everything we could ask for.
Yeah, it's been fantastic.
To get right to the point.
Oh yeah,
it's
you can't beat it.
It's been pretty awesome. Hey, and so Thomas, I guess to give a brief background on who you are. For the full backstory, I'll have people go back and listen to the other podcast that we did, which I believe was at the beginning of 2024, January it released. But give a little bit of a background on who you are.
Okay. Well, I'm Thomas Clements. I've been filming in the outdoor space for about 5 years full-time now. I got into it in the ag space. I grew up farming and stuff like that. So my brother bought a camera when he was in college and filmed some fishing stuff. And then I did a little bit of cattle work for some of my dad's clients and stuff like that. But I always, loved hunting and stuff like that. So filmed some of there. But worked a couple odd jobs out of college. Didn't work. COVID hit and God opened some doors. I ended up doing a year with Seek One and blessing working with those guys. That opened a lot of doors, and I went freelance after that. And did a lot of the hunting shows for a while, and then I kind of wanted to get more into the commercial space and the more short film and doc style stuff. So last 2 years I spent a lot of that, and you and I we crossed paths when Lee and Drew came up and did a hunt with you guys, and just loved the environment and PA. The culture there was just awesome, and so we kind of became friends and stayed in touch the whole time through that. And then here we've actually done, so we did Mountain Man Joe film, which was incredible.
Yeah.
And then we also did the CVA Deer Camp film, which was also awesome. Both those went out last year.
Yep.
And
the extended cut of the Deer Camp film just went out on my channel here at the time of this coming out, probably a week or so ago. So.
Yeah.
And Mountain Man Joe, that was just this year that
actually,
came out.
yeah. So we shot it last year, but it came out this year.
Yeah.
It's I get my timelines crossed up when you're shooting a film, and then it takes a while to edit it. That was a grizzly bear to edit, but it was worth it. That was awesome.
That one about broke you.
Yeah.
That was that was one you were obviously super proud of, but I feel like that edit just about
Yeah,
broke
I
you.
was a bit of a funk then too, so it didn't help. But yeah, that was about 200 hours of editing on that one.
Dang.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and if anyone hasn't checked that out yet, Mountain Man Joe, that's the film that both myself, Thomas, and Alex Cote produced and field produced and put everything together on a story about my dad. And that one is like, I love all the films that I've been able to be a part of and be able to put out for their own reasons, but that one has a special place to me and is one that I am the most proud of, I'd say, out of all of them. But
100%. That's I heard some I believe it was Matt Land. He's talked about when we did that podcast actually with all four of us on there with him and Adam. Talked about making something timeless, like that being the goal, is to make something that will be good now and then 50 years from now.
Yep.
And that was one of the first pieces that I've done where I was like, that was it.
Yeah.
You know? Like, I mean, your work evolves. So there's a lot of past projects that I'm really proud of too, but that was the first one, and it was a bit of a blessing because Kurt had digitized that old footage from your granddad, and it all just kind of came together, and it was just a blessing. I really enjoyed that one, and I'm super proud of how that one came together. But yeah, I'm I guess in the creative space, I'm a filmmaker, but also photographer, all around brand consultant, and trying to navigate my way in that whole world and position myself and see what ways I can steward the gifts God's given me in this space to make it better.
Yeah, and I think what separates you from my perspective on things is like everything that you do is you think about it first and foremost, not of just making cool stuff, but like how is this going to impact, like how are people going to feel when they consume this content, because we're all so guilty of just constantly consuming stuff and having things constantly being pushed down our throat through social media, through YouTube, through podcasts, through everything that's out there.
Yeah.
How do we make something that's valuable, that's going to help make someone's life better, whether it's from an entertainment perspective, whether it's a different way of thinking about something, a story that inspires, whatever it might be. And I think it takes a different type of person to do that and to care as much as you do, and I think it shows in the work, and that's why I was so pumped when things lined up for you to be able to come to Iowa here with me and be able to hunt. And that was kind of a last minute thing because I had someone else hired at the time. You were kind of toying with the idea of not being in this hunt space pretty much going forward, and weren't sure, and I had someone that couldn't come anymore on the trip, and I reached out to you, and you were like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, this is gonna work out.
No, yeah, it was a blessing. 2025 has been a weird year. Like I kind of got burned out on the whole film and creative thing, and some of it I think was just maturity growing up, my age, like figuring out where you are, like what do you want to be doing, who are you supposed to be, and that whole deal, but also just what's the purpose behind, we're making all this content, this creative, the storytelling and all that, but what's it actually doing? What's the impact? What's the long-term vision? What are we building here? Do I want to be filming deer the rest of my life? Like, all of that just kind of came to a culmination, and just for some reason, I just broke my brain just trying to figure all that out at one time. And part of that's the problem, is you can't just sit down and try to stew on it all day long. You need to take it chunk by chunk and just keep making steps. But it was perfect timing, because like I felt like I was called back to come back to the space, and I was really wrestling with that because I kind of stepped away. I'd finished the projects that I had, and I just wasn't pursuing anything. This is the least amount of deer filming I've done in the last 5 years. This is the first deer hunt that I filmed in November. I hadn't filmed anything prior to this year. And but like I said, it was funny because when you called me that was the first one project where it was like, as soon as you said you want to go to Iowa, I was like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
And I was kind of surprised. I was like, man, I actually do want to go. Like, I do want to get back into this. And that's what I told you earlier. We were talking about it in the truck. I was like, this whole week has just been a blessing. Like, it just relit this fire for me to just, like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Maybe it's only for the next 5 years. I don't know. But, like, right now, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. So,
Yeah.
it was, I mean, this week is all I could ever ask for.
Yeah. I feel the same way. I mean, Iowa has been a lifelong dream as a whitetail hunter. I feel like for anybody that's a serious whitetail hunter, you think about Iowa as the pinnacle. And I'm not sitting here trying to spotlight Iowa because everybody already knows Iowa has some of the best deer hunting, and that's why it takes a long time to get a tag.
Yeah.
To be able to do that. But I was like always just thinking about it. Everyone I talked to be like, oh, you gotta go to Iowa, because most of my experience has been hunting the mountains or hunting the big woods and a lot of the East Coast, a little bit of Midwest, but mostly that kind of style. And everyone's like, you got to experience Iowa. You won't want to go back, to Pennsylvania. And honestly, I had the opposite experience from the standpoint of like, this is all I ever want. I think this is like one of those, like, it's like a treat for you, where if you have it all the time, you might get a little spoiled. Lose that appreciation for it. Where I was just like, man, both of us were in the tree, like smiling, even when 30-mile-per-hour winds are hitting us in the face and it's, wind chill in the single digits all day. We're just smiling, man. Like it is truly an experience.
It's just different. Like it's, I mean, I grew up hunting in Georgia, and it's similar to PA in the fact that, like, you can't see very far for the most part.
Yeah.
And so, like, your window of visual of where deer are going to come from is probably about 100 yards, if that sometimes. And out here, depending on where you're hunting, there's big blocks of timber and stuff like that, but a lot of times you're hunting over CRP or near crop edges and stuff like that, so you can usually see a lot more. But also, it's just the deer density is real high, and travel, depending on how you're hunting, travel corridors, stuff like that. It's like everywhere you look, potentially there's a deer coming from that. And that was where we were hunting. Like, there were deer coming across the creek, in front of us on our side of the creek. Basically, 360, we pretty much had deer.
Yeah.
And because the wind was so high, that was a bit of a benefit because it kind of kept our scent moving pretty good. But that's what, like, we were smiling about. It's like, you don't really get bored hunting here because everywhere you look, there could be a deer there. So even though we were doing all-day sits and we hunted for 5 days, it really felt like 2.
Yeah, it really did. Like that, I think the only day that actually felt long, like it was like, quote unquote grind, was the day when it was that cold. And I was dressed perfectly fine for it. It's just our face. I mean, you probably even see it on the cameras, but like we're just wind burnt, just beaten. I can't wear like a big face mask over my face because then I can't draw my bow. And when it's windy, I mean, you're relying on visuals, not really sound at that point to be able to hear them. But it's just, I think to kind of set the tone for it, like this is something that I've been looking forward to for a long time to be able to do and to be able to come on a hunt like this. And I kind of built my year around it a lot of like, I don't want to plan any other, out-of-state whitetail trips or anything. Like, this is my hunt, and if things go the way that, they did, okay, maybe I'll travel somewhere else and do something, but I don't want to focus on anything else. I want to put my time and my effort into learning this new thing because it's totally different landscape than I'm used to hunting. I relied on a lot of other people to talk to and try to learn from and try to pick people's brains on how to look at this landscape, how to hunt, what kind of calling works, like all these different things that I'm just not used to. And that was fun though, like that process of trying to learn something new.
Well, it stretches you.
I mean, at the end of the day, they're whitetails. There's so many similarities depending on no matter where you're at, but it was pretty cool. But you've been in Iowa on a little bit of a different scale.
Yeah, I spent 2 years filming with Lee and Tiffany. So it made me familiar with the landscape and how the deer move. And like calling is a big thing, and I got to be a part of that, and I got to see that. Whereas like down in Georgia, like, yeah, you can grunt, people rattle. Like, I personally never had any huge success with it. And I mean, I was a deer hunter, but I wouldn't say that I was a hardcore deer hunter when I was growing up. But it's just different out here because, one, sound travels, but two, just the demeanor, the pressure, there's less of it, so the deer actually respond to it. But even then, like, deer got to be in the mood. Like, we saw that. It only worked the one time, and your buck was in the mood for it. But it also, I think it works more here because you can see, and so you can read a buck's body language more, and so you know whether it's working or not. Versus like in the big woods and stuff like that, you may be grunting and he may hear you, and it's just not, he's not in the mood, or he may not be able to hear you, and you don't know that even though he's only 100 yards away and stuff like that. So it's just I don't know. It's
like rattling, where like I don't rattle at all in Pennsylvania because the only times I have done it that it's worked, they've circled downwind of me, where you can kind of choose your setups or see if they're trying to circle downwind of you here. I think that's I could be wrong, but I think that's more of the difference than like, oh, you can't rattle deer in Pennsylvania, or you can't. I think you probably can. It's just that the situation on how things line up.
100%.
Yeah, what they want to do. And also like the buck to doe ratio seemed pretty dang good, so that creates a little bit more testosterone, just them getting fired up and wanting to show dominance a little bit more. Yeah,
for sure. The downwind thing, and that we saw that play out firsthand. I mean, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, and so to you bringing up like even or me asking you about like the filming for Lee and Tiffany, and I did the interview with Lee and like totally respect everything that he did, and he had, gracefully offered for me to even be able to go hunt at his place when I was going to be drawing this tag. And I still think maybe I'm a little crazy, but I respectfully declined just from the standpoint is I just wanted to experience it and learn it myself and try to go out there and, I don't know, just hunt. And just, I don't know, not be tied to anything specific and just learn it and go do that. And for anybody listening that's not familiar with how Iowa works is, so you have to apply for points to be able to draw a tag each, depending on the area that you're in. Some take more points depending on the season, everything, but it's going to take multiple years for you to be able to get a tag. And that's how they keep the quality of the hunt higher. It sucks that you can't go back every year, but if you could do that, then the quality of the hunt wouldn't be as good. So there's pros and cons obviously to the draw type of system, but usually you have to. I think it's like the first week of June is usually the deadline by when you have to apply. They open up like mid-May to be able to apply for points and be able to go do that. So I figured based on the amount of points I had, I was going to draw. So I came out in April and did a scouting trip, and that's when I did a podcast with Rendell Eric, kind of recapping that one. And I spent a couple days in the woods with Rendell, learning from him, who lives in Iowa, excuse me, and learned a ton of how he looks at the land and like how bucks are going to travel through things differently, and how sometimes they'll go through the wide open here, which I'm not used to that as much, hunting in the places that I've hunted particularly. So that helped a ton. Learning from Johnny Stewart. Johnny's hunted the Midwest a lot, and he's taught me a lot and given me a lot of pointers for it. And then and my buddy Chris Toomey, who actually the spot that I shot my buck in, that we'll get into the story, was a spot that he tipped me off on based on historical knowledge, and he was just a super huge help and helped me with it. And he's drawn this tag. I think he started hunting here like back in 2005 or somewhere in there. So he's done a few stints here and taught me a ton. So like it's awesome to be able to learn from other people and then get out there and see it. And I did end up coming back out in September on the way when I was going to another hunt. I stopped by and put a couple cameras out and just scouted a little bit more to get familiar with it. And it's actually funny, we never even hunted the places I put cameras out. We went and pulled them today, but wish we might should have been.
Yeah. Dude, it looked crazy good in there. We did jump a really good 3-year-old too.
Yeah, we did. Locked down with the doe. Which today is November 12th as we're recording this. But, so to go back now, let's kind of go through the day by day of the hunt. So day one, we came into this as day one. I came into it instead of like what I would traditionally do on an out-of-state hunt if I didn't pre-scout it or didn't have historical knowledge, is I would spend the entire day walking. Basically what we did today. Yeah. And just scouting, trying to find a hot sign, not worried about blowing deer out. I want to know where the deer are. I want to understand what the pressure looks like, what we need to be able to do. And that's not the case where we had northwest wind, which was for one spot that I wanted to go to was a good wind already. So we were just went right at it. I mean, we got here the night before, and that next morning at whatever time we got up, 4 o'clock in the morning, 3:30 in the morning, and we unloaded the boat and went in there. What was your experience? Because we used water access a lot on this hunt. Actually, every hunt.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
We did use it on every hunt. What was your thoughts on that? Up. Yeah, when it wasn't froze up. we'll get into
we'll get into that later. Yeah. No, I loved it. I think you mentioned it when you're coming out. It's like it adds another element. You kind of feel like a little bit of a commando dude. Like I'm sneaking in, I'm doing the whole thing. It's definitely more of a chore. Like it's a bit more of an investment. We were getting up, and we're getting there an extra 30 to 45 minutes early just because it's a whole nother deal. And it is somewhat slower than just straight walking. But I think it paid off because we were hunting right next to the bedding. Like we're hunting just off of it where we're not pressuring it too much, but just trying to get the bucks that are coming downwind to check it. But they were on both sides of the creek, and the sign was crazy. And so the water access gave us the opportunity to get in with the least amount of ground scent possible. And we noticed that, like the one time you rattled and we heard a buck take off. Well, it sounded like a buck take off behind us. He hit our ground scent the one time. But other than that, we were pretty much undetected the whole time. So I loved it. Yeah,
we literally walked like 20 yards a day, like in the spot that we were hunting. From the water's edge, up the bank, to the tree, straight line, back and down. And like that access is so clean. That was something that Chris told me when I was coming out here. He's like, man, you need to, he's like, do you have a kayak or anything? I was like, I do, but it's not very stable. Yeah. And I actually put a thing out on Instagram on my story. I was like, anybody have recommendations? I don't typically hunt like this. And I got a lot of really good feedback, a ton of different recommendations. And one boat kept coming up, which was a brand I never heard of, but it was called Water Feather. Yeah. And it's like basically it's kind of like a flat bottom boat. They're mostly used for like layout blinds for duck hunting. So they're kind of shorter, but super stable, lightweight, weighs like 52 pounds. You can stand in it. It won't flip over, and you can go in like 2 inches of water. Yeah. And, we overloaded it, wouldn't recommend. It's supposed to be a 350-pound weight rating. We put 2 guys in our gear in it. We did fine. Not recommending that, but it worked.
Yeah. No, it was super nice. And we didn't really have a problem. I wasn't worried, which I've been in the kayaks all the time. I might have wigged you out a couple times so I was standing up to get some shots, but it was worth it.
Yeah, but that water access was huge, and that worked. I don't know, like it created a different element to it. The one day that we'll get into when we had to walk in, I was like, man, it's actually way faster walking, but it gave us an element of staying undetected, especially when you're hunting somewhere over and over and over again in the same spot. The more you educate, the less your chances go down, and that's where the argument against my style of rut hunting, which is patience pays off, and hunting the good funnels and the good spots over and over and over again. But if you can get clean access, that helps a lot. Yeah. It.
And that was a huge learning curve for me because, like, we have different personalities. Like, I'm I don't know. We're at least hunting styles. Like I'm more of a running gun. That's what I've come from. But you have a lot more knowledge and experience that backs up the patience game and the historical data and trusting the funnels like you were talking about. And that's why, like, when we're getting in there and a lot of the deer that we're seeing are 100 yards away, like they're not right on us. And I'm like, man, I feel like we should just, like, the instincts are coming up. Like, I feel like we're out of the game. We need to push in. But, like, we know deer are using this. We can see the sign. We know they're there. And that was the big thing, and it paid off, of just trusting the system and trusting not pushing in there and being patient with it. It was a huge thing for me to learn.
Well, and I think there's a lot that comes down to it from the standpoint of how much time you have available to hunt. I think is a big one.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if we had 3 days total to be able to hunt there, I would have been a lot more aggressive.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Where after seeing the first few deer crossing out at 100 yards, be like, I probably would have climbed down and moved to that spot to be able to hunt.
Yeah.
But knowing that, one, I set aside 2 weeks, but even if I set aside a week, I would still play it probably the same, where I just felt like I need to see more of this. There's trails everywhere here.
Mm-hmm.
Doe bedding is in front of us. We're on the downwind side of it. Yes, right now they're going right to that, but I still don't know enough for me to make that change and give up a lot of wind and putting down a lot more ground scent crossing these trails to be able to do so. But believe me, throughout the days, like, I thought about it. That was in my mind the whole time. I should move to this tree. We should go up to here.
Oh yeah.
We should do that. And it's a hard thing to.
Oh, we were talking about it the whole time, like middle of the day.
Yeah, yeah.
Mid morning when nothing's moving around, we're like, man, that'd be a killer setup, and then we'd be right on the edge of that fence right there.
Yeah, yeah.
You even got down the one time, and we're like, it's super low. Like,
Yeah.
go check it out, and I'll keep an eye on. You went down and watched, and like, yeah, it'd be good ground setup here, but the trees are kind of no good for it. And it ended up panning out. It was a really good thing that we stayed put. But yeah, it was a bit of an internal battle. And I think everybody, no matter what hunting situation you're going through, that, like, should I move? Should I stay? And that's what I think just experience and time in the woods is what teaches you that of when to go and when to stay. Yeah,
and what I try to do with a simple approach, and it's not always that simple, but to dumb it down for myself, I just do it as a pros and cons of, like, and the pros and cons are also weighted a little bit. It's not just like three pros versus 2 cons that win. Sometimes it's weighted based on the situation. But it was like, all right, we got doe bedding there. We've got a good wind coming across. We got clean access. And it had historical knowledge from the area, from previous years with my buddies with my buddy Chris that had been in the area. It was like, okay, gotta kind of play off of those different things. And so the spot we had, just to give you somewhat of a picture to be able to visualize it, I guess, is like, you have the creek system and you've got a bunch of timber draws that roll in, and it's more open country in between. So it kind of narrowed down the places where deer are going to be bedding at and where some of the travel is. Now, definitely learned they will go through the wide open. And so it doesn't mean they have to go through those timbered spots as a perfect funnel. But those were things that we looked at. And so that doe bedding, I mean, it was like, first we got in there. I wanted to get in the first morning, not in the dark per se, but get there right as it's breaking light to make sure we can find a tree to get into that was going to make sense, and just kind of feel it out versus blindly going in there and doing. I didn't have an exact tree picked, but we went in and we were on the ground. We were already seeing deer. Oh, yeah. We saw does right away on that side hill going into that timber draw that we were going to be sitting down from. And and I think, was I climbing up already, setting up things when you spotted a buck?
Yeah, I think you had the first stick on the tree, and I was standing off to the side of it, And I saw like a 3-year-old come over there, and I got all jazzed up. I was like, oh, it's a big buck. And just saw the white horns glowing on the CRP. But, no, it was... and he ended up being on the hillside close to where your buck died. Yeah. And when we got over, saw that highway that was cutting across that sucker. Yeah. It was, the deer were on us. We saw deer all day that day. That was a good day.
It was first day in. I was like, well, wow.
Yeah, this is super nice.
Yeah, but and what was cool about that was when you get to see things, you can see what you believe is happening in the big woods and the timber and stuff, but you get to actually visualize it.
Yeah.
And see how the deer are moving through things, how they're checking those doe bedding areas, when they're coming in to be able to do that. You know, like again, back east and you're in that thick woods, you could be off 50 yards and not know there's a deer that's walked through there, and you might not see anything all day, where we were able to have some visuals on things.
Yeah, that's where it's honestly a place where you can learn faster about whitetails and about behavior and stuff like that, because we were having conversations the whole time like, this buck is doing this because of this, because we're watching it, versus like in the big timber situations, you're inferring a lot of what's happening, being like, I think he did this because this.
Yep.
You don't actually know, maybe he's just cruising or whatever. And so it may be a little bit longer of a learning curve for figuring out what deer are doing in an area versus actually being able to watch it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, we watched, so that first day, we didn't see any like real mature bucks. We saw a couple of 3-year-olds, I think. There was that one.
It was an 8-point.
8-point. It's pretty nice looking 8-point. And that's why I joked, I called it Pennsylvania shooters.
Yeah.
I was like,
oh, yeah.
I mean, he was real nice rack on him, like beautiful buck. And it definitely takes some recalibrating a little bit when you see deer here versus other places. But, watching them, and they were checking those does, and those does, there was one doe in there, I believe, that was on the verge of being ready, but she wasn't yet. They'd go in, check them. The real young bucks, the 1 and 2-year-olds, would spend a bunch of time in there. The 3-year-old and then the really older bucks, they were super efficient.
Yeah,
which
he was in and out in 10 minutes.
Yeah, but they'll go in, and one thing I learned that gave me more confidence in our setup was when they'd go to chase the does, those does ran right to us, right past us. I was like, okay, when she's hot, which could happen at any moment or any day here, there's a good chance that seems like her escape to come down and head down towards the water. Yeah. And I mean, she was standing like underneath our platform at one point.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, all right, we're
in the right spot.
And I would have that confidence for another like 4 hours. Then I'd see one's way out there again. I'm like, oh, gotta move.
Yeah. No, it's that was awesome when she came down right below us. And we also had that trail that was to the south of us too. There was like a major trail.
Yeah.
And honestly, we didn't see money deer using it until the last 2 days.
Yeah.
Until the day that you killed and the day before that. And it was just, I think that's one of the things for me that's a big learning curve too, is like you might see a deer trail that's just hammered, beat down, but they may not use it every day. And just because you wouldn't hung and sat there and hunted and didn't see anything on it, doesn't mean it's not the spot to be. But like you said, it just comes down to what's your timeline? What are your pressured on ability to hunt? And historical data is a huge factor in weighing in what you're doing there. If you have somebody who's hunted there and said this is what he observed and they did this and we're observing similar things, some of that's like you got to play make the logical play instead of the instinctual, like, man, I just want to move.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it was there was a lot of learning that was going on throughout that process. And after day one, we ended up having to make kind of a major change where the wind was completely wrong. Like this spot, westerly winds are what we needed. You could get away with northwest was great, west was good, southwest was okay, but you go east, no go. Blew right into the bedding. So we're like, all right, got to find something else. And I had some ideas of places, but wasn't totally sure. And actually decided that next morning, instead of going out right there, which would have been a good morning because of the storm that was rolling in, but we decided to ride around and just check out places, and also get an understanding of what pressure was looking like, what other people was going on, just kind of get a lay of the land a little bit. And I think that was really beneficial to understand, like, okay, there's a decent amount of pressure in some of these other areas I wanted to check out. So that makes me feel good about our original spot. But we ended up about probably 10:30 in the morning going into another spot by water access and going to check that one out, which was a super cool spot too.
Yeah, it was gorgeous.
Yeah.
That was one of those, like, I don't know. It was a lot tighter. You know, we had way more timber, and it was on the edge. You had CRP and you had crop near it, but where we were at, visibility was limited, but it was like one of those places you could see does bedding up on, and the flat we were up on top of, and the thermals. And like when I got out on the bank a couple times, I saw a bunch of buck sign. Looked like he had been running down the bank with a doe.
Yeah,
I was guessing, but that was a gorgeous place. And that storm rolling in, like we were able to creep around on the bank and kind of still hunt our way in there.
Yeah, I mean, it rained all day while we were in there. And I think that cut down on people too. When we were going in, a lot of people were coming out. And which that was fine by us.
Yeah, doesn't bother me.
It was kind of funny though. The one spot we parked the boat on there, I call this perfect spot. We go in there and you look at me, you're like, someone's been doing this.
Yeah, there's a little spot. Somebody else had done
little
that
spot.
too.
Someone, and I noticed a couple branches trimmed going up the bank. I was like, all right, someone's got the same idea of going in.
Gives you some confidence though. It's like, well, this guy might know a thing or two.
Yeah, and it was that spot was cool because it did offer more terrain, and like you could look at Spartan Forge and see like real good funnels. Like, I felt like that spot we sat that evening. I think if we could have hunted it, which I don't know if we would have had a good wind for it really the rest of the week, but it really favored east and northerly winds.
Say west wind would not have been good there at all.
No.
Yeah.
But that spot I felt pretty good about it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I felt pretty good about that location. It was kind of a high wall, went down to the creek, so they couldn't come through there. The edge of some timber and some CRP and led to a cornfield. And there was just a lot of habitat edges and terrain that all met at that one location. But visibility was a lot less than what we were dealing with at the other spot.
Yeah.
And with high winds that day and the rain, it was really, you had to be on your A game to.
Oh, yeah.
And we weren't at one point.
Yeah, some of us were on their A game more than others.
But I was on my C game. You just were on your F game.
Yeah. No, I was on my S game.
Sleeping.
My sleep game.
Well, it was the middle of the day, which obviously can be good. But we got into the spot and we weren't planning on staying at that location. It was like, let's just sit here for a little while.
Kind of just observe things
closer to where that corn was that we figured they're feeding at night. Yeah. And so we're like, we'll just sit on the ground here, and there's some lanes out, some trails, and
I'm leaning up snacks.
Yeah, we had some snacks. I'm leaning up one tree, you're against another, and all of a sudden I hear you snoring back there. And I was laughing. I was like, he's out. And I nodded off a few times. I was laying back there, I was pretty tired, and I was looking at Spartan Forge. I was on my phone, and all of a sudden I look up, and I'm like, oh, there's a 4-point right there. He's at 20 yards already. I was like, I need to focus. And I'm like looking, I'm like, Thomas. And I look back, it's Thomas. And you're like, and then by that point, the deer heard me whispering, and he's looking over, but it's just a 4-point.
Well, you said, Thomas, there's a buck right here. And I said, no, there's not. I was like, because I know he knows I was asleep. And he's like, I swear. And your tone of voice communicated that you were not bluffing at all. And so then I'm like trying to interpret whether it's a big deer or not. And based on you not trying to get your bow, I was like, okay, well, at least it's not a shooter, but I can't see him at all. But, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but that was, and then we didn't see any other.
No, we had them behind us.
Yes, we did. Yeah. We ended up climbing a tree right there.
It was a good setup.
It was
I
a good
liked that
setup.
tree a lot.
Yeah, we had great cover. And then we had that high wall below us. We were like 50 feet up on one
yeah.
side and only 12 feet on the high side there, but it was a dang good setup.
I liked it because like if you could see the deer, there's a pretty good chance you're going to be able to shoot the deer.
Mm-hmm.
And it was one of those like you're right on the edge of bedding, but because we were so high on that creek bank, thermals would pull down into the creek, so you could get flirt being pretty close to the bedding. But it was also, if you did have that east wind, the bucks were going to travel along the creek bank to get downwind of the bedding, so they were going to come right there.
Yep.
And then also across the bank, like you could see pretty good ways into the bottom on that side, which is where those other deer ended up being.
Yeah.
So it was a great observation, but also right in the breadbasket spot.
I felt like when we heard a loud grunt, and I felt like we were turkey hunting where we both pointed in different directions where we thought it came from.
You said in front. I was like, I was behind us.
Yeah. I was like, really?
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah. And then we heard some more. That first grunt, and maybe there was a mature buck in there, but it sounded strong to me.
Yeah, we both were like, jumped a little bit.
The second one sounded weaker. It was a younger buck, and I saw legs running around. I don't know if you saw a rack.
I saw a doe and then what looked like a young buck because I didn't see very much hardware on top.
Yeah. So that was kind of our evening there, but with then the plan of the next day, which a major cold front was rolling in.
Yeah, that's when it got cold.
That's when it got real cold.
Yeah.
So we went from that day. I think it got up to mid 50s, high 50s or so, but it was raining.
It wasn't terrible cold.
No, but that next day was a high of 31. But the wind chill, the real feel was 9 degrees at the high, at the highest all day, and that was
cold.
That was a cold day.
Yeah.
And we pulled an all day sit back in the original spot, but good thing we did because like it was kind of slow first thing.
Yeah, but that afternoon was crazy.
Yeah. What was it? I
think it was 2.
Yeah, it was right before 2:00 because
we were actually going to get down and take a little.
We were considering
break.
climbing down, and we were going to do this. I said, I was like, I don't really see many deer between 2 and 3. I don't know what it is. Up to 10 to 2 is a great time. 2 and 3, I'm like, eh. So we're going to climb down and go down by the, walk the 10, 15 yards back to where the boat was at and just take a nap and rest up a little bit. And just as I was thinking about planning on doing that, all of a sudden, way out in the open in front, I just see just giant tines of. I was like, big buck. He was big,
and we hadn't seen anything for like 4 hours, so I had to get the camera turned all back on, and I was trying to find him, and he was moving at a click, like he wasn't messing around.
No,
but he came across wide open, just like a bunch of the does had been doing.
Yep, came across wide open. He went in, and you did get some footage of him up in the timber. You were saying, like, I didn't get much. I thought it was pretty good footage, but...
Well, actually, first I thought it was the 8-pointer.
Yeah,
because he had that busted G2, and all I could see on his right side was the 3 points.
Yeah. So this deer, for any, like, to give a visual what this deer looked like, is... He's one of the tallest deer that I've ever seen. And he would have been a mainframe 10-pointer, but he broke off his G2 on the one side.
Clean off like there was this much left.
But I'm talking like 160 type caliber deer. Maybe a little bit less because he wasn't very wide. But the tines on him, I mean, his 2s and 3s were over a foot. His 4s were long too. I mean, he is big deer, and just like you could see the commanding, like mature buck, like 5+ year old deer coming through, and he was aggressive. But the thing was, he was so efficient with his time. And I've seen this before when I hunted some open country in West Virginia. And I think this happens everywhere, but this is where you could actually visualize and see it. But he came in, hit that bedding area, bumped those does out of their beds, checked all of them, and was moving on to the next bedding area in under 10 minutes. And it was so windy. literally 30-mile-per-hour winds. My calls weren't doing anything.
Oh, yeah.
I grunted, I snorted, wheezed, I rattled. I mean, nothing. He was hearing it. So it was just kind of a crapshoot at that point. But that gave us some, like, serious, like...
Oh, that lit the fire, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, we're staying here.
It's like, this is what we come to Iowa for
here.
100%. Because, you know, at that point, yeah, we've only hunted the area for a couple of days. We were seeing mostly younger bucks in there, but that gave us, like, okay.
Well, it's one of those spots just, there's a mature buck around, but it's whether or not you lay eyes on them. And that's where I give commend to the guys, like, you know, hunting the big timber and stuff like that. It's like you wait so long knowing there's big deer sign, but how often do you actually lay eyes on him? But out there, like, there's the benefit. You may lay eyes on him. He might be 200-300 yards away, but at least you're seeing him.
Yep.
You know, and so that's what's fun about it, lighting the fire, because it keeps you in the game the whole time. And
that really started. I mean, a lot of bucks started moving after that. From then until dark,
yeah, we had
was
steady
constant.
Deer action.
It was constant of deer moving and just running through. And I think we had a small 8-point come right underneath us. I think that was that day. Yeah, it was awesome, and that definitely was like, okay, as long as we have a westerly wind, this is where we're sitting at, and where we're going to hunt. And we just so happened to have that, you know, going forward. And that next day, so that'd be day 4, was actually, I thought, the best conditions for the trip, where it was cold. I think it was a high of 38. It was in the teens in the morning, but calm. Like, it didn't have those high winds.
It was real quiet.
Dead
quiet.
Real quiet, but it was real dead.
Yeah. Like, it was a frosty morning, and we were both saying the whole time, it's like, man, I just see a buck, like, cruising right now. Like, it just feels deery. Like, deer just kind of creeping around, doing their thing, can't hear them, but you can see them browsing or going back to bed and stuff like that. And we didn't see jack diddly.
No.
I think we saw, I don't know, like 2 does in the bedding.
Yep.
Like, making that, they had that one route between the cedar tree and that little brush patch. A lot of the deer were going right there. There ended up being a scrape there. But I think that was all we saw that morning.
We did see the spike, the famous spike that we saw like 19 times.
Yeah, he was a very popular resident.
I think like a little 7 or an 8, whatever, that we saw a few times. We saw all that before 9 a.m.
Yeah.
They cruised that downside of the bedding, and then nothing until the last hour and a half of daylight. And we saw some other young bucks, I believe, in that evening there.
Yeah, it was only like 1 or 2. It wasn't much.
No, it was very, very little for it. And then again, that's where even though you had like those encounters in your confidence, starts going down. Oh, should we move?
Yeah. We should push further.
Should we adjust? Because all these bucks were coming from this block of timber further in to the place, but it was riskier to get in there. And again, you could have someone that may be more aggressive in these situations. And I feel like I am very patient when it comes to the rut. There are times in different points of the season where I'm more aggressive. It's just my experience for me personally has been that the more I bounce around, the less success I have. Where when I find a good spot that I feel confident in, it's not just like you sit anywhere in the woods and sit there for 10 days. It's like when you find a spot you feel confident in, that patience is the winner for me on doing that. But that's when I climbed down and went and looked at that other tree, and I was like, I don't know if we can pull that off. And but we left our stuff there and was like, all right, let's or no, was that the morning? That was the morning we missed a crucial part of that.
Yeah, this was the loud part, yeah.
The boat.
So because it was so very still, but it was also in the teens that morning, the creek froze. But it didn't freeze right where we were getting in, which is the problem. It froze like 180 yards down from that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it sounded like we were just smacking.
Oh, it sounded like the Titanic. Yeah. It was loud. We were breaking ice. We were forging a pathway. And we were both like, we're not sneaking anywhere near bedding doing this.
No. So we had to dump the boat.
Yeah.
And hike the rest of the way in that day. And actually, that night, we couldn't get back out because it froze even more because it never got above freezing.
Yep.
So we had to leave the boat and
just
hike out.
Yep.
I was like, well,
if it did find more deer sign though on the way out,
we did. Yeah, that was kind of nice walking the shoreline back. We did find some more deer sign and everything, but yeah, we were like, okay, I guess we got to leave the boat in there. Tomorrow is gonna be 55 degrees in the day.
It should thaw out. Which back out.
Even when we floated out, there was still
ice there. Yeah, which oddly enough, when I was paddling back up there to get to you, I was breaking ice going through there, and you weren't 40 yards off the creek bank. Said you couldn't even hear me.
Yeah,
yeah.
I think because the way a lot of the creek systems work here is they're so old that the banks are 10 foot tall, and I think it does hold sound.
Yeah, it just kills it. It just dampens the sound real good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you're like, oh man, is that loud coming in? And I was like, I didn't hear you.
Yeah, I was like, dang. We could have just done that the other morning.
Yeah. I still think the deer would have heard us on that one. I think
because that next morning we walked by and there were 2 does feeding on the bank.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
it worked out.
Yeah, that next morning. So this will be our last morning, day 5. We had a hike in. We go past our boat, and all of a sudden we see eyes down there. And for some reason, I mean, that one doe was big. I was like, that's got to be a buck,
dude. Her eyes were that far apart.
Yeah,
she was flirting with being a Holstein. I'm talking about. Big ol' eyes, for sure. Thought it was a buck. Mm-hmm. I was looking for horns the whole time.
Yeah, and I'm like, and we're like 20 yards away, and I've got a bright red headlamp, and I'm looking at it, and it's like, she's just looking at us, and I was like, we were in there pretty early that morning, and I was like,
real good and dark.
It's like these deer don't really, as long as they're not catching your wind, like you can go up and pretty much slap them in the ass, and they're not gonna be that worried. Mm-hmm. Gray light, daylight, they're more alert, but for some reason, strictly in the dark, my experience is they just don't really care. And then we got close where we had to cross the creek, and that little doe that hung around us a lot, she's there, and she's kind of looking at us, and
she didn't know what was going on.
She didn't know what was going on. I'm like, we just got to keep walking. So we walked, and she kind of spooked, but didn't blow or nothing. Mm-hmm. Just kind of ran up on the bank, and we went and climbed up our tree that morning, and I joked with you based on how Mason always talks about. He's like, it's not good, or you kill a buck basically when you have adversity, when you have things that are coming in. It builds a story. I was like, well, we couldn't paddle in because of this. We just had to come in, leave ground scent. We're hunting a little bit of a different wind. It was we're on the beginning of weather starting to warm up, which is typically will slow down movement a little bit. Maybe the big bucks are all locked down. There's a little bit of doubt that was kind of feeding into it there. But right away in the morning again, we saw those does go back into bedding. I was like, all right. We kept saying bait set.
Oh yeah,
like they're in their spot. They're in bedding. We got in where they didn't.
Well, it gives you confidence.
Yeah,
because every morning when we watch them come back in there and not go out the other side, it's like, okay, they're there, and the bucks had been coming to check them. Mm-hmm. So it kind of, I don't know. It was a mental boost for me of feeling like you're in the game again.
Yeah, because I think even on that slow day, that one doe got chased out of there early, and I think
that's what kept us there.
Yeah. I was like, man, there she goes.
Yeah.
So it kind of killed it. But that last morning was like, all right, we got the 3 does that were in there, at least 3 does that we could see. They seemed like those were the resident does that were in there. Mm-hmm. And how did it go from there?
If I remember right, I want to say there was a 4-point that came through at some point before the 8-point. I want to say he came from south, came through, checked the bedding, and then I actually think he went up in there.
He did go up in there, you're right.
And then I don't think we saw anything from that. That was probably like, I don't know, 30 minutes after daylight.
Yep.
Until about, we saw the 8-point that your buck chased off and right before 9, right? Or was it right at 8? Yeah, right before 8. Yeah, so it was about 45 minutes. We hadn't seen much. But it was good and windy that morning, too.
Yeah, but you and I were there, and we kind of said something to each other in the tree. We're like, man, this feels really Bucky right now. Like
right now is when they'd be cruising.
And it wasn't like 20 seconds later, all of a sudden, this young 8-point comes running in like he's being chased. And I was like, there's nobody up there that spooked him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was what... You were thinking that. I was like, why in the world is he running? Like,
Yeah.
he's not running like he's chasing a doe, which is what I was thinking in my mind. I was like, what's this dude doing? And you were thinking he got run off by somebody.
Yeah, and so instantly I was like looking back, and I was like, "Well, you." I don't even remember what I said, but you remember it.
Oh yeah, you were like, "That's shooter. I'll shoot that buck."
Yeah.
You just said that to yourself. I was like, "Oh, I got to find him," because I was filming the 8-pointer, obviously. Yeah. So then I'm trying to find him. But yeah,
yeah. I was like, I'm going to shoot that buck.
Yeah.
And so, just a quick side story on that. My goals coming into Iowa, the biggest question that I have been asked from friends and anybody else I talked to about going to Iowa was like, what's your goal? Like, what's your minimum? Like, what's your like antler size, inches sort of deal? And I thought about this a lot going into this trip. And I said, I don't want to have any sort of, I don't want to measure this hunt based off of just strictly inches per se. Yeah. I want something that, one, is a good representation of Iowa, but first and foremost, that I grab the bow without second guessing and say, that's a shooter. Yeah. Because there are plenty of times when I'm like, is he?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I'll shoot him. But like I said, what my goal is to stick to. And because you know it, when you see enough deer, especially we've seen so many young bucks, when you see a big mature buck come in, it's like
it's a different presence.
It's a different presence. And I see that buck come in, I see the tall tines, I see the big body, and he's coming in dominant, trying to run that little 8-pointer off. I was like, oh, yes.
Yeah.
And so he comes in, and he's working the same line all these deer do, about 100 yards out in front of us. Yep. And I tried grunting at him, nothing. I snort wheezed at him, nothing. He starts walking back the other way because he ran that buck off. He was heading back to the other timber block where he was going. And you're looking through the camera screen, and you're like, he can't hear you with the wind. And I just grabbed the rattling. I never even took them off the hook. They were still clipped in. And I just banged them as hard as I could together and twisted them for just 5 seconds.
I don't even know if it was that.
And I look, and I'm like, oh, he's coming. Like, he stopped, turned his head, and sprinted at us. And because everyone kept saying about, make sure you have rattling antlers, make sure you have rattling antlers. And I've never had luck with that. But he comes running, and I'm like, Thomas, he's coming. And you're like, where is he? Because from where you were at, even though you're just in the next trunk of the tree, the visual was completely different. I had a whole
tree in front of me. I couldn't even see him the whole time. Like when you picked up the rattling antlers and you said he was sprinting, I was like, I couldn't see him at all.
Yeah. And he was coming to circle downwind of us.
100%.
And the entire time, so we had the southwest wind that we had where he was coming, he would have caught our wind prior to getting a shot opportunity. But by the grace of God, we got a shift of westerly wind that hit literally right before that. And he couldn't catch our wind without being in shooting range.
Yep.
And he comes in, he's looking. And the whole time I'm thinking he's going to turn around and leave because he can't see anything. But I think it was just thick enough in there. And we were in a great spot in that tree.
Oh, yeah.
It was a double tree. I don't even know what kind of tree it was. But we were in a good spot where they couldn't see us. And the sun was at our back, like at the back of us. So like if he looked up, he's looking right into the sun versus looking at us. Mm-hmm. It was perfect. And he's coming, and I see he's coming right down to the lane, like where we would want him to be the optimal spot. And I drew back, and I gave him a meh. But I didn't do a super loud meh because I had some poor experiences recently with alert deer, with moving when the shot happens and stuff. And I don't know, I just got self-conscious about it. I didn't do it, and he's walking, and I'm like, okay, if I hold on his front shoulder at this pace, I should be able to hit perfect. Dumb decision, but stay with me here. I shot, and right away I was like, I hit him in the gut. Like, I hit him way too far back, and I was I knew immediately that was a dead deer, but that it was going to take a while, and I was so mad about it. But he ran out. And he ran out to about 72-ish yards. I just knew that from the tree he was in front of. I had ranged earlier. And I drew back another arrow. Went to shoot him. Felt pretty good about it. I shot, and so the way my sight's set up, the dialed 3-pin on this bow. So I had the new Hoyt AX3 that was just dropped. I had that, and is a little bit faster than the RX9 that I was shooting. So my pins were a little bit different, but it was 25, 42, and the third one was like 56 and a half is what it came out to. And I was like, it's further than that, so I aimed up a little bit. I was like, it's a follow-up shot. I just need to get another arrow in them. And I shot, and I squared up on a branch about 20 yards away from us, and that arrow went flying through the air. And he runs again. I'm like, oh, man, just sick about it, and watching him through the binos. And this is the good part of being able to see, but we watched him bed down right away. He was all hunched up, and I was like, okay, it's gut. And he bedded down right away, and it's like, this is going to be a waiting game here to be able to do it. And I turned to you, and I was like, I was so excited for the encounter, and pretty much knowing that we were going to have a dead buck. But I was so mad at myself for putting a poor shot on him. The deer was going to suffer for a while, and like that, it just made me mad because and the thing was, like, the shot, I was composed when I shot. I just didn't plan the right way, as far as, like, I should have did it louder. Louder meant got him to stop. At that distance, 28 yards, the speed of the bow, everything, he wouldn't have dropped enough. I would have put a vital shot on him and would have been fine, but I didn't. So hindsight's 2020, but nonetheless, I hit him. I hit him back, but he was hurt, like, real bad. And I thought it was just straight gut, like nothing else. Like, it was like, we're gonna have to give him 12 hours. Like, that's all there is to it. And you could say maybe, and we thought about this, of like stalking in to get another shot, but it's like, if I bump him and he runs somewhere else, whatever, it was just, there was a lot of risk that was involved with that. And I was like, I think the safe bet is to, let him expire on his own. I don't know, because my fear was like, you bump him, then you can't find him, then the coyotes get him or whatever. Yeah. And it goes to waste, and I did not want that. So, but we were able to, keep the visual on there, and you were being able to see him better than I was from your position.
I was able to get on the far side of the tree, swing around, on it, and got super lucky. It had been about 45 minutes since the shot. He actually bedded down twice.
Yeah, he did.
But we were able, because we lost him on the second one. He went further into that bed.
Yeah.
But I caught him walking out on the hillside.
Yeah, you caught him going across that opposite hillside there. And I kept catching blades of grass that looked like his white antlers, and thinking like, and I'm like, are you sure it's him? And you're like, oh yeah, like I'm certain. Yeah. I could see his big tines and his body going through there, and he's just moving super slow, just going through. And, at that point, then I was having trouble seeing him from the tree where he went to. So I actually climbed down on the ground and got a visual on him. And it was probably 2 hours after the shot that I saw him all of a sudden get up from where trying to get up from where he's bedded. He just rolled over and started kicking and rolling down the hill. And I was like, what? Like, I was like, that doesn't happen from a straight gut shot. Like that, like, I must have hit something else. And still, we thought he went down there, but the grass and everything, there's still places he could escape. So we just sat there and just stared, and then ended up eating kind of a sandwich and being patient with it. And then went in, and he was stone cold dead right there. Yeah. And I ended up squaring the liver, which is what was the main driver on how he died quicker than I expected. But
we had a hunch that you were close enough, because I thought it was like back of rib cage. So I was like, there's a pretty good chance that you caught liver, and that's our best bet. But it's we were both on both sides, a little bit of both sides of the spectrum. I was like, I kind of want to be aggressive and potentially get another shot on him. But
Yeah.
I think we made the right play, and you were wiser in the fact of just being like, we just need to play it safe and try to make him comfortable and not try to run him off. We're in a different state. We don't have a lot of contacts here. We don't know where he's going to go.
Yeah.
Blood trail's not great on a gut shot anyway.
Yep.
That whole deal. Yeah.
Yeah. And who knows? I mean, maybe we could have stalked in on him and put it out right away. I really don't know. I mean, there's a lot of not knowing when it comes to those situations, and they suck, but it worked out better than I expected it was going to, where he died quicker than we originally expected. And man, it was just like whirlwind of emotions at that point that it actually happened. And it was like all these years of waiting for this Iowa tag, and there he was. And I felt like that was a beautiful representation. Mature buck, big white antlers, big 8-point, and just he's got tall tines. He's heavy, somewhat narrow, just and it was a bully of a buck, which was cool. It was funny. We ended up talking to a farmer in the area, and he had seen that buck the day before running off a spike. Miles away. So it was like that deer was aggressive, and that was fun to be able to experience there.
100%. And that's the unfortunate realities of bow hunting is, you're never going to encounter the same situation twice. And a lot of that, like the instinctual maturity of knowing what decisions to make and what shots to make, only comes from time in the tree and reps. And like, as much as we love the whitetail, like we are taking a risk when we loose that arrow.
Yeah.
But, knowing that it's a lethal shot, and then it's okay, how can we best handle the situation? How can we hopefully get the animal to suffer the least amount, but also recover the deer? That's the most priority, highest priority. And it's just, they're really uncomfortable situations, and can be, but they also teach you the most. And they shape your character the most. And while they're tough to stomach, I think those are some of the most valuable ones, because they teach you a lot. Like that situation, we're in the tree and we talked about all the things that would have made that different. Like, it's windy, you probably wouldn't have heard the bow go off, like all these different things.
Yes. And
you get to run on that and draw on that later down the road. And they're valuable, incredibly valuable situations, but while they're not exactly what you would love to happen, you can't, like, they're invaluable.
Yeah. And yes, I'm glad you brought that up, because I think that to me, even you bringing up the thing about, like, he's not going to hear your bow go off, with it being that windy at that yardage, like, he's not going to have time to react. And it's like, okay, that was a point I didn't think about, and now that will be in my mind when I'm thinking about, on a dead calm day, you go, like, he might get a little bit wigged out, but there was a lot to be able to learn from, and that's it. And again, it sucks when it has to be a hard lesson like that, but at least you can learn from that for the future. And bow hunting isn't always the prettiest of things. Like, watching it back on video, I was like, are you kidding me, Bo? Like, you can make that shot behind your back on any other day, and you just hit way too far back. And I think I shot, like, looking at, like, analyzing the situation, I think I shot where he needed to be. Like, could he have came closer? Possibly, but there was more risk in letting him. Like, that was a good yardage. That was easy. My 25-yard pin at 28 yards is pretty much straight on. It's like, but I needed to get him to stop to do it. That was something I definitely learned. But I need you to tell the listeners why the rattling was so impressive based off of the first day.
Oh, well, that would be because you removed the brow tines off of the rattling horns that you brought that day. because there's a bit of a safety hazard in rattling with horns that still have brow tines on them.
So, as many of you know, I like to plan for hunts, and I take a lot of pride in like having things organized and ready to go on hunts. One of the big ones was to have rattling antlers. I had one set of rattling antlers years ago. Actually, I remember the year. It was 2020.
Yeah.
I left them in a tree somewhere, and I never got them back. I just never had rattling antlers again. So I was like, okay, I need rattling antlers. The night before I was leaving, I had the truck packed. I was like, I don't have rattling antlers. I'm going through my shed pile thinking, I'm like, oh, which ones do I want to? So I really don't want to cut the brow tines off. I knew that you're supposed to do that from it, and I was like, I'll be careful. And I had this beautiful, nice 8-point matching set that I'd picked up in the spring, and I was like, I really don't want. I'm just gonna try it like this. You know, I wrapped some paracord around them and took it, and right away I learned why people cut the brow tines off. And this was the worst deer to use for rattling antlers because he had long tines. He was a younger deer, so he was kind of thinner and big brow tines on him.
Yeah.
And I hit myself in the thumb or the pointer finger. I can't remember what it was with that brow tine when I tried to smack them together once, and I wanted to cry in a tree. That hurt so bad.
Yep.
To be able to do
it was entertaining to watch, though, on my end.
You were laughing because then you were telling me, because you've had more experience, especially being around like, you know, Lee Lukoski and others and yourself, of like knowing how to rattle. And I just don't.
Yeah.
I love calling. I love grunt calling. I love bleat calling in those situations, but I didn't know how. I didn't know the proper way to rattle. And so you were giving me pointers on it, but I was like, I was not working with those brow tines.
Oh, yeah.
So after that first night, we were back here at the Airbnb, and I've got my tree saw out, and I'm trying to cut bone with that, which is a chore. I was sweating when I was done with it, but I got it off, and you had some electrical tape we wrapped around it to get rid of the sharp edges. And then I felt like a real rattler.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, then he was a pro. He was ready to get after it then.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it came a long way, and you were telling me about, like, if you ever listen to a buck fight, which made so much sense, is how loud it is. And it always starts that crack at the beginning, like just smack it. And then the twisting together, you know, of those antlers. So I was like kind of picking up and trying to learn on that in the process of it.
Yeah, and a lot of it's what I've observed. Like, it's nothing that I've had personal success with doing. I've never rattled in a buck, but I've been fortunate enough to be on a lot of hunts where that was, you know, successful, and also observing some knockdown, drag out buck fights. Like, it's not, you want to visualize the cadence, but it's also about what kind of buck you're trying to call in. And I'm not professing to be a whitetail expert by any means, so there's people who know way more on this than me. But if you're trying to call in a mature buck, you don't want to be a little spindly, little tickling horns, because he doesn't really care. You know, if you want a big fight, you need to sound like a big deer. Plus, when it's windy, you want the sound to travel. Like, it's got to be able to get to him. But also, it's like the cadence of a buck fight, especially a knockdown, drag-out fight, they hit horns, but it's not a constant rattle. They're sitting there, like, the amount of strength and pressure that they're torquing on each other is crazy. And they'll spend 30 seconds locked together.
Yeah.
So it's like a smash together. You might lock one way, the other way, and then pause. Let it sit, and then hit them back the other way. And then smack them again, come back together again. And it's like you watch them fight, you know, on TV or different stuff like that. Like, they'll come apart, they'll stand, they'll posture again, and they'll smash again. And it's kind of just, it's fun, honestly, just to play with it.
Yeah.
And see what works. And obviously, if you catch a buck in the right mood, like your buck was, as soon as you touch them together, if he's feeling it, he's coming. And that's what I told you. I was like hunting with Lee a couple of times. Like, he'd smash them together, but we were in the big, wide open timber. He'd do it for like 10 seconds and stop because he didn't want to get caught, because bucks would just come so quick. And so it was just one of those things where when it's ready to work, it's going to work.
Yeah. And that deer was in the mood.
Oh, yeah.
Like, and his broken brow tine was,
kind of proved that a little bit.
Kind of proved that. Like, he was a fighter, and he had a scar underneath his eye.
Yeah, he had some cuts on him.
He had some cut, not a scar, a fresh cut. And then on the back of his neck, I think he had something going on. He was a fighter.
Yeah.
He had a big, strong neck on him too. I bet he and those long tines. I'm sure he did some damage.
Yeah, for sure. And he had, pretty good mass too. So breaking on brow tine like that, he's probably in a pretty substantial fight.
Yeah, I probably ran into that big one.
Yeah, I wonder if he
old Longhammer.
Longhammer. I wonder if he broke his G2 off.
Yeah, that would have been an epic fight to watch.
Yeah,
both of them with long tines, big mature bucks.
Oh yeah,
smashing together like that.
It's I've only observed the one knockdown drag out. I've heard another one. Mm-hmm. Like we got stuck in the tree one time, and you could hear them. They're breaking trees, like just. Obviously it's dark, so you can't see that well either. But it's something to behold, like how powerful they actually are when they lock horns. It's wild, super cool though.
Well, and that's always been like the thought of like when you rattle on a tree, you're not hearing all that ground noise that they're typically making in a real fight. So I've heard of people like putting them on ropes and dropping them, taking 3 antlers, tying them together, hitting on the ground because that helps make more sound and whatever else. But I think if they're in the right mood too, it's just like they just hear that. They hear that in their eyes, just like, what's that? Like, I need to go figure out who's in my area.
Oh, 100%. Well, that's what I was about. Like, there could be guys who do a lot of calling that would probably know a lot more about it, that the ground thing might be better. Tickling horns might be better in some instances. I'm sure there's some deer that you don't want to smash horns together because it's intimidating.
Yep.
Or if you're hunting and really skittish deer or highly pressured deer, like you don't want to over-announce a presence. And so all of that's reading the room, knowing the environment, what works, what could work or not work. And that's one of the things with calling. You were talking about it too. It's like someone like Johnny, he doesn't call a lot sometimes.
Yep.
And it's like whether you like to be your presence to be known or not, sometimes that comes down to the hunter.
Yeah, it definitely does. And I like it. Like I really want to find a way to make rattling work in my bag of tricks in Pennsylvania because I love calling. I love interacting. That's why I love turkey hunting. That's why I love elk hunting. Like, and deer hunting, I'm aggressive with the grunt tube. But that adds a whole nother element to it. And that's fun to me, man. Like having those interactions and trying to fool them to be able to bring them in was just like, that's fun. And all I could say is like, neither of us here are going to give you the full-on tips when it comes to rattling, but I'll say if you're coming to Iowa or the Midwest, you should probably bring us that.
Yeah, I don't think it's a terrible idea.
Yeah.
No, I love calling. It's that's why I love turkey hunting so much, and it's just a more intimate experience you can have instead of just like let me climb up in this tree and fool this deer. Obviously I have to learn how to best his patterns and best his senses, but to be able to call a deer and mimic another deer is just a whole other element of woodsmanship. And it's just a beautiful exchange when it works. It's obviously, like you experienced, awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. It really is. Man, we've talked about this a lot, but just to try to, me and you have during this trip, but to give everybody that's listening, like whenever you go on it, whether it's an Iowa trip or you're going anywhere out of state or you're in state or whatever, just having a good perspective on what you're doing and figuring out, even when situations aren't going right and it's 30-mile-per-hour winds blowing in your face and the creek is frozen over while you're trying to take the boat in, like find a way to flip that and do a positive way. I think attitude is such a big part of not only being successful, but just to enjoy the experience. And that's why we're doing it. Like we're out there to have fun. Yes, there are times when it does seem like a grind and you got to put in extra work. 100%. Not going to sit there and act like it's all
sunshine and roses.
I keep getting Josh Elderton's his version of that, which is kind of a little more vulgar. But it's not all rainbows and sunshine or whatever the heck they say. Like there are parts of it, but I think your mindset and how you look at it can really change that perspective. I mean, yeah, sitting all day for pretty much, 4 out of the 5 days, sitting from dark to dark and just being in a tree can wear on you.
Mm-hmm.
On this hunt, I didn't feel that nearly as much. Felt like the days are actually going by pretty quick when you're seeing deer. But even when you're not, like, it's having that perspective and just being like, man, I'm thankful to be here.
Yeah.
And sometimes Johnny hates the word luck, but like, I think having patience sometimes and just being like, you can control the controllables, and there is a part of it, no matter what, you have no control. It's out of your hands, and just kind of let it happen. And this season, I feel like it's been really good for me, and this has been one of the first seasons where I've really just kind of do the things that I feel like I need to do, or try to do the hardest I can with it, but also just let things kind of unfold when they're supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. That's, to me, it's been more of an enjoyable season in that respect. And yeah, just letting things kind of unfold.
Yeah, like you said, I think that's something that we've talked about it a lot. Not even just this year, but
yeah,
in the last 3 years, been 3 years that we've known each other. But I think in this stage of our lives too, in our careers, just maturing as hunters, as people, is just the power of reframing things and having the right perspective on it. And we have so much influence on the way that we perceive the world, or the way that we perceive hunting, the things that we love, our careers and stuff like that, and the ability to, look at a situation and see it for what it truly is, and evaluate how you're perceiving the situation. Is this true to I'm the man that I want to be, and the way that I want to see things, or am I letting my emotions control this? Am I responding to this or reacting to this type deal? And a lot of that is like, I'm regurgitating things that I'm learned from other people, but it's taken me, until I'm 29 to figure a lot of this out. Mm-hmm. And this trip was a absolute blessing to me, because even the first day when we were getting in there and like just sitting there, I was like, I'm living my dream, whether we kill a deer or not, like whether I do this for the rest of my life or not, like I'm in Iowa with a dear friend of mine, and we're in a tree downwind of some bedding. Like, it's not about killing a booner. It's not like, all of these things are treats. They're the 99%, like we talked about. Mm-hmm. But like everything leading up to it, like packing all our gear the night before, like doing all the work, waiting however many years it took you to draw the tag. That's the 99%. Driving however many hours it took us to get here, the work that it took to be able to afford to come here, to mm-hmm. take time away, the loved ones back home who gave us permission to come do the thing.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know, we just can get so caught up in like the outcome. We obsess over the outcome, and it needs to be this, and it has to fit into this box that we have that's our expectation. And there's just so much more to enjoy if we can let go of that. And that's what you talked about, like you've had so much more success this year and been able to appreciate and enjoy the hunts more, because you really dialed in what you can control and your efforts, and you pursued excellence in that, and then you let the rest go. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be what it's going to be.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't control the weather. You can't control how the deer are going to move. You can control the things you do to prepare it, and your attitude to be there with it.
Yeah, to respond to it.
Yeah, and the way you just put it there is exactly right. And there's so many things that it might seem like a big deal at the time. Like me having to go too high on a tree and not like heights.
We're trying to put a rope around a tree.
We're trying to put a rope around a magnum tree and getting frustrated.
Well, because somebody asked you to do that.
My little arms can't reach around there. Yeah, but that perspective of it is, I just think is so crucial mm-hmm. to it. And I don't really have anything else to add to that, but even if you're out there, you're listening to this and you're struggling this season as far as, being quote unquote successful or whatever it is, we've all had those years, and that's just the way that it is. But just be thankful you get a chance to be able to go out and be able to have those experiences, and you're in the health and whatever else to be able to do that. So.
Mm-hmm. I think the biggest thing that I've been learning, maybe God's been teaching me this portion of my life, is like a lot of our life is not supposed to look the way we think it is. It's not supposed to be easy. It's not supposed to always line up, because that doesn't shape our character. It doesn't educate us at all. Like, you talk to anybody who's really successful and you're great deer hunters, they're like, failure is your best teacher. Like, your dad said that when we were filming the Mountain Man film. Like, failing is something to be sought after and appreciated. And like, it's so easy in this day and age, but I think it's always been easy for humanity to just, loathe failure and depreciate it. And it's not exactly something to strive for. Like, obviously you want to have successful goals, but like, I think it's so much more valuable and to be appreciated. Like, it's okay that, I went this whole season, I hunted really hard and I didn't kill a deer. Or this section of my life, I don't have the money to go or the time to take off to go hunt a bunch. And that's okay, because when I do have the time to do it, man, it's going to mean so much more to me. And I'm going to notice everything in the woods so much more. Or I'm going to notice the people that I spend time in camp with that much more. And I think it's just that little reframe. And it's easier said than done. Trust me, I'm not good at it either. But just that reframe of being able to, stop when you get all flustered and just pissed off with the situation and be like, look, is this going to pay off, and is this making me a better man? That thing.
Yeah.
And I think this trip was just a culmination of that for me, for sure.
Yeah. The way you put it in the reframing, that is just... It's just spot on and like you said, it's so hard to be able to do sometimes, but I think being around good people that also have similar mindsets
it rubs off on you.
It's so much easier to be able to do at that point. If you're always around negativity or people that are, have excuses for this or that, then it's a little bit harder to be able to do that. But I'm thankful I've got good buddies like yourself and others around me that help make it a little bit easier for me to be able to reframe my mind and be in the right headspace for it.
Absolutely, man. I feel the same way. I learn a lot when I come and hunt with you guys, for sure.
Yeah. Well, you're gonna have to be a PA resident at some point.
Yeah, man, I should just move up to PA.
Yeah. I get to hang out and
I could hunt in the snow too.
Yeah, you don't get too much of that in Georgia.
I don't get to do that back home.
Also, last thing I want to say about this is I highly recommend anybody, when you go out of state for a hunt or whatever, to try to embrace yourself in the culture of the local community and stuff as much as you can. We've had some great conversations with people that were local to the area, whether it's diners that today, because we've been cooking at home the whole time here, but after being tagged out, we went out for breakfast and dinner. It was an awesome experience getting to talk to people. They're asking us if we're hunting, successful, telling stories, and just like getting to experience that. I think is just...
it adds to it.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
I enjoy that about all the places I get to go to, which I'm lucky to be able to go to so many different places and just embrace the cultures of all of it.
Oh, it adds. I mean, it adds depth to the memory.
Yeah.
Because believe it or not, 40 years from now, you're going to remember that waitress you talked to at the diner who was pretty high strung and had an opinion, but she was a good time.
Oh, yeah.
It's, I don't know, that kind of stuff's the sweeter parts of it, instead of just the rush of how can I kill a big buck and how fast can I get it done and all those.
Yep. That's exactly right. efficiency, as we talked about, like we talk about a lot. I talk about on the podcast, being efficient with your scouting, with your hunting, all that stuff. And I understand everyone's got a different time allotment and you want to be successful. And sometimes you only have a couple days, and I totally get that. But if you can not trying to rush that and letting things happen, I think creates a better experience overall.
100%.
Efficiency is sometimes the enemy.
Yeah. Misplaced.
Yeah, maybe not the enemy. That was
no, it's true though. But
well, that said, let's wrap this one up, Thomas. And I gotta get packing here. Gonna head out tomorrow. Gotta get this meat back and everything to Pennsylvania and head out. But for anyone that's listening, where can they check out some more of your stuff, some of the work that you've done, everything like that?
Right now, just social media. It's my name backwards, Clements_Thomas, or Moroccan Sea Media is the business page, and that's where most of our stuff's going to be.
Yeah, well, check it out. Like I said, Thomas is extremely talented at what he does, and we've got some films that he's worked on me with, the deer camp film with CVA, which you can find the original one on CVA's YouTube channel, the extended cut version now available on my YouTube, the Mountain Man Joe film on my YouTube, and this one coming sometime next year.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Thomas. I appreciate it, brother.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we thank you for watching or listening if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. This has been another podcast brought to you by Beau Martonik and East Meets West Hunt. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Hey guys, thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed this conversation, share it with your buddies. Leave us a rating, a review, and subscribe. If you want to check out more content like this, there's plenty in the links below. We truly appreciate having you guys along with us.